This is the news on 92.3 Nigeria Info.
On the news this evening, NLC threatens strike over proposed increase in electricity bills. President Buhari sacks 2 ministers. Reactions as JAM cancels general cut-off marks for admission into tertiary institutions. And on the foreign scene, Japan finds black particles in Moderna vaccine. I am Carl Orakwue with the news. The Nigeria Labour Congress has threatened to embark on strike if the federal government implements the proposed increase in electricity tariff. Labour reminded the Minister of Labour and Employment, Chris Ngige, about the agreement they reached on September 28, 2020. They had agreed to freeze further increases in electricity tariff until the committee concludes its work and its report adopted by all the principals in the committee. The threat followed speculations that 11 power distribution companies have received approval to slightly increase electricity costs from today. Moving on, President Muhammadu Buhari has sacked the Minister of Agriculture, Mohammed Nanono, and his power counterpart, Saleh Maman. A special advisor to the President on Media and Publicity, Femi Adesina, announced this today. He said the Minister of Environment, Mohammed Abubakar, has been redeployed to the Ministry of Agriculture, while the Minister of State for Works, Abubakar Aliyu, is to take over as the Minister of Power. In another development, Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, has threatened to show a red card to television and radio stations for alleged breach of broadcast ethics. The minister, in an interview, cautioned the media, particularly radio and television stations, to abide by broadcast codes and other regulations guiding them. Zamfara State Governor Bello Matawale has ordered the immediate closure of primary and secondary schools in the state following the abduction of a yet-to-be-a-certain number of students in the state. Sam Ayuba Elkanah conveyed the governor's directive while addressing journalists to disciplinary action against erring judges. The lawyer told correspondent Sibi Ruari that he is displeased with the way the court granted an interim injunction against the embattled national chairman of the PDP, Prince Secondus.
Indeed, the nature, content of the expertise orders, in my view, and with due respect, we are very, very overreaching as on expertise. So I oppose the move of the CJN and the National Judicial Council in order to restore sanity.
We don't feel so far, nothing they move.
And compliance with the ethics and the procedure that is known to all of us, both members of the bench and the bar.
Now, if they view the market well, I hope we will get.
I do apologize for that. Dr. Innocent Ekwe also faulted the restraining order issued by the Rivers and Cross Rivers courts in the matter of the PDP crisis.
River State High Court. I've also read the one from Kepi. I've also read the one from Cross River State. The one from River State and the one from Cross River State. With due respect and in my view, we are very overreaching because it tends to determine substantive issues that ought not to be determined until the substantive case has been heard. It attempted to reach decision and make pronouncement on matters that can only be decided after the substantive case has been heard. And therefore, it was very overreaching and ought not to have been so.
Away from that, live birds, ram and goat and tubers of yams were this morning laid under huge trees at the site of the new Ngboshimini slaughter market. This is as community members gathered for traditional rites to appease the gods before contractors were allowed to begin demolition work. Recall that last month, the Rivers State Executive Council approved the shutdown of Uginigba Slaughter Market in Transamadi and approved the building of a new slaughter market at Ngboshimini, Rumeme, Obiakpo local government area. Meanwhile, some petty traders displaced after the old slaughter market in Ngboshimini was demolished say the slaughter markets, when completed, will boost sales.
We don't do so far, nothing they move, and now if they view the market well, I hope we will get customers.
As this work they go on now, let them clear this place for us so that we affect our own business too.
Before they demolish this illegal structure where they here,
we dey sell market. So now when they want do this slaughter for us, our expectation be say the thing go move where market go enter and more people go come.
We expect to bring police station here so that people mind go rest because of all these criminal activities.
If they do them, everybody go benefit from them, and of course our business pattern go change.
Elsewhere, residents of Ngbaraja off Cornerstone Junction, Uzwoba, are calling for the removal of a broken-down refuse disposal truck along Ngbaraja Road. According to the residents, the abandoned broken-down refuse truck has been on the Ngbaraja Road for over 3 months. A chairperson of commercial tricycle riders in the area, Chigozie Ike, said the broken-down refuse truck is occupying a part of the road, inconveniencing road users. A resident also spoke anonymously on how the smell from the truck laden with refuse is affecting residents.
Even some people will carry leg, they no fit see any place to shoot leg pass. The dirty don't block road, they smell everywhere. Even people where they behind there, they no fit breathe in. In the school where they close to the area, the order of the dustbin no even allow them to breathe in. All of them don't run away. Since that time, the truck they there. Even children they sick. The order of the dustbin, they make them they sick. In fact, the dustbin don't last for years. Maybe they can't help, can't remove it.
Still ahead of the news this evening, reactions as JAM cancelled General Court of Marks. Do stay tuned.
Democracy is the freedom of speech. Freedom of speech. Nigeria Info opens the mic. This is the news on 92.3 Nigeria Info.
Welcome back. A lecturer, Edio Bulmanu, has applauded JAM for cancelling General Court of Marks for admission into tertiary institutions. Dr. Bulmanu, in an interview with our correspondent, said this move by JAM will give universities an opportunity to grant admission based on their capabilities and capacity.
It is the school itself that knows its capacity and capability and the number of lecturers they have and even the spaces they can for accommodation and other things. So it is right and proper, if you ask me, for the schools to determine the cutoff mark. If you now say University of Sokoto should have a cutoff mark of 200 in JAMB and University of Port Harcourt 200, you will find out that University of Sokoto will have very few students there. Some students who did not meet the cutoff point in the University of Port Harcourt would rather shift to Sokoto if it was less.
Dr. Bumani of the Department of Political and Administrative Studies, University of Port Harcourt, however, warned schools against being selective in granting admission.
We may also have issues in this autonomy, and that issue may be that some people will be selective. Let us take more of these people. They may use other extraneous factors to determine what they will use in admitting students into their university. Money may come into play, ethnicity may come into play, religion may come into play.
On his part, an educationist, Ben Yelisara, tells correspondent Tobi Ruari that universities could have full autonomy soon with such a move.
It is a step in the right direction. The reason being that over the years, we've always advocated for academic autonomy, and this is part of the academic autonomy that the university needs. You cannot concession, as it were, the process of admission or into the hands of a regulatory body outside the university system. That's what has been happening over the years. For the the universities to solely determine, the quality of those who come into the system. That is the right way to go.
Yawisara, however, dispelled fears university management will allow the elites hijack the admission process.
There is nothing to fear in this circumstance. I do not have any fear at all. The universities are going to live up to their responsibilities, are going to live up to their dealings to ensure that only those who are qualified are given admission. I don't see any universities compromising standards here. I do not. What JAM has done also is for university to up their ante as far as determining who is qualified, as far as determining the criteria for admission, into the university system.
Some students of the University of Port Harcourt also spoke on the decision by JAM.
Let the school set their exams themselves and admit their students themselves, because JAM doing that, it will cause confusion.
If JAM leaves admission to the hands of the universities, we'll definitely have more admitted students than we usually have, because the first thing is to first pass JAM cutoff, and once you do not meet up with the JAM cutoff, you automatically know that you're not entering school.
I feel if we let school give admission, it will benefit them, because more students, more money, and then they will use it to build probably more classes for students.
A lawyer in Port Harcourt, Gio Chukwu, says it is unconstitutional to compel citizens to take vaccines. He said this as the federal government considers action against those refusing COVID-19 vaccines.
The Constitution, Section 35 specifically, guarantees everybody the right to private and public life. Now, for an organization or any agency coming to say that everybody must take the vaccine, it's infringe on the people's rights. I don't know the basic rule. I've just told you that any other law that comes up that infringes or contradicts any provision of the Constitution will be considered null and void. So I don't know about the law they are talking about. The least the government can do is to, restrain the people, anybody that's not taking the vaccine from entering public places. And how can that be achieved? You telling somebody not to access public places because they refuse to take the vaccine. They have right to their private and public life.
A medical doctor also said it is against the laws of medicine to administer any form of treatment on unconscious patients against their will.
As a medical personnel, I'm not aware that there's any law that allows us to forcefully treat or administer medication to people who have autonomy. There's something called informed consent in medical law, and informed consent and autonomy are the guidelines of medical practice. The patient must have a choice, and the patient must be able to choose. And once you take that away, you are practicing paternalism. That means you're taking decisions for the patient, and it's an abuse of human rights.
She advised the government to study the vaccines before making it compulsory.
I don't think we should give in to panic, because once you start throwing away human rights in the name of facing a pandemic, what next? If you can actually appeal to people and get them to do what you want them to do, then why do you have to force them? Then on the other side, we all are aware that we are still testing these vaccines. We're still trying to find out how many doses they will require, how effective the protection is. If the vaccines couldn't be protective against the Delta variant is still in question. So when you are not even sure of the safety, efficacy, and the long-term effects of what you are doing, if you come today and make it compulsory, and tomorrow we find out that there are issues as a result of this action, who do we sue? Who will be held accountable?
The Executive Director of the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency, Faisal Shuaibu, had said that government can apply the basic rule of law against people who are not vaccinated, as the action of the unvaccinated put others in danger. In business, stakeholders say locally produced food crops for export get barred from European markets because they contain high residues of agrochemical substances due to wrong use. The stakeholders, who are mostly farmers, said the goods are returned while exporting because they do not pass the test quality control. In entertainment, American superstar rapper DaBaby has done a remake of Wizkid's hit song Essence. DaBaby shot an official video for the 2-minute freestyle, which he posted on his YouTube channel. The video, which was posted a few hours ago, has so far garnered over 620,000 views with about 7,500 comments. Fondly called Big Wiz, the singer released the original version of the song Essence, which is on his Made in Lagos album in 2020. The original version features sonorous singer Thames. In sporting news, Cristiano Ronaldo has revealed his relationship with former Manchester United manager Alex Ferguson played a key role in convincing him to return to Old Trafford. Ferguson retired as boss of the Red Devils in 2013, 4 years after Ronaldo departed for Real Madrid in a then world record £80 million move. However, he remains a club ambassador and confidant of current United boss Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, who also played under Ferguson for many years.
And now we'll bring you news from around the world.
Japan has put a batch of Moderna's COVID-19 vaccine on hold after a foreign substance was found in a vial. A pharmacist saw several black particles in one vial of the vaccine in Kanagawa Prefecture. Some 3,790 people had already received shots from the batch. The rest of the batch has now been put on hold. It comes less than a week after Japan suspended the use of about 1.63 million Moderna doses due to contamination. And that's it here on the news this evening. But before we go, here's a quick look at the major stories. Earlier on, we told you the NLC has threatened to strike over proposed increase in the electricity tariff. President Buhari has sacked 2 ministers. Reactions have trailed JAMB's cancellation of the General Court of Marks for admission into tertiary institutions. And from the foreign scene, we told you Japan found black particles in a batch of Moderna vaccines. The news was edited by Choma Ezinwafo. For eyewitness reports and breaking news stories, to contact our newsroom on 0818-900-0017. For more stories, do visit www.nigeriainfo.fm. Cloudy weather is expected in Port Harcourt this evening. I'm Carl Orakwue. To enjoy the rest of the evening.